just check. I just wanted to check if everything was okay. Okay, so first of all, I want you to feel that this is a safe and confidential kind of environment. And usually in my classes, we go around and we get volunteers and share the story. But I really wanted to get this video out to you so you could start and writing and get a taste of what it's all about. If any of you are familiar with the moth and storytelling, storytelling has become a little bit bigger now, not only in advertising and marketing, but you know, writers like us, some of you are already writers, some of you are trying to be writers. We've maybe valued storytelling, but there's a special interest right now in storytelling. And there's something called the moth, where people tell live, true stories in their lives. That's become very popular. And there was an article about what makes a story really memorable and what makes a good story. And you know what it was? It had to do with vulnerability. We're used to trying to put our best face forward all the time. But sometimes if we tell, we balance it with what wasn't so great or how we weren't so perfect, it's much more interesting. So keep in mind that, be open, be honest, be vulnerable. You could always cut it later. And don't forget, what you're writing in my classes are just for you, for nobody else right now. I'm not going to see it. You're not going to share it right now unless you wanted it to, and we were in a class situation live. But right now, just know it's just for you, but try to be a little more honest than you might have been before. Tell the truth. That's a lot of contributes to making a good story. My background, very briefly, I worked for some in-house on staff for some big companies like CBS, Harcourt Brace, UC San Diego, freelance for different places. And then I've also published in newspapers and magazines. I've written a novel. I'm a writer since I'm 9. I love writing, but that said, I teach this course because I want you to write your story. It's not about the craft of writing, your spelling, your grammar, etc. Doesn't matter right now. We're not at that stage of editing or revising. This is just about your raw, fresh, honest story, getting it down. So as I said how today will work, I told you I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to give you some time to write. And you can just keep this video on the whole time, because I don't want you to shut it and go back and write and rewrite and edit. I want it to be within the time that I give you, because that will eliminate your editor side and your worry that you don't sound good or professional. So there's a rhyme and a reason to what I do. Usually I ask you questions now, but I'm guessing and hoping some of you have started a memoir, probably found it unwieldy. There was so much to tell. Where do you start? But then you have to write another 60, 70 years. Some of you might have been intimidated by certain aspects of it. So we'll get a little bit into that today. So let's see. Right now, I would like to make sure you take notes. Some of your frequently asked questions include, can I get a recording of this? No, unfortunately not. Where do I find out information about you and your website? It's writinglifestories.com. And you can direct emails to me through there at barbara@writinglifestories.com, BARBARA at writinglifestories.com. Other questions are just feel comfortable, feel relaxed. Please don't do any other things while I'm talking, because I don't have notes with it, etc. Just please bear with me, and I'm really here to help you and encourage you. Okay, so right now, I want to give you a quote. All sorrows of life are bearable if only we can see them as part of a story. I'm going to make it a little louder here just to make sure everybody can hear me. That was Isaac Dinesen. And, you know, writing a memoir includes a lot of happy things, sad things. There's a way to do it where it's not just didactic and it's, you're just giving a polished version that isn't necessarily true. And so there might be sorrow, and maybe you don't want to sound like a victim. And there are ways that we can deal with that as well, where you tell your story, but it's also relatable and you tell as much as you want to your children and grandchildren, that kind of thing. Okay, so I teach a bit today, you'll write a bit, and then we'll tell a little bit more about if you wanted to go further in the future. Okay, so why write your life story? Well, we live in a very impersonal age now, especially with COVID, where a lot of us are feeling lonely, isolated, reevaluating our family relationships, missing our family, missing our friends. So we've gone from this agricultural to a big technological kind of lifestyle and society, and that's in little more than 100 years. So we're really efficient in our high-tech kind of stuff, but less and less personal. So what do I mean by that? Everyone who's alive has a story to tell, and there has never been another you. So that's why it's so impactful for me to teach this and share this with you, because I want you to write your story. No one knows your story as you do, and you will likely, by writing your story, you'll see more clearly when you write it and sometimes share it. You'll see more clearly about who you are and more about your life. So what is writing life stories? So I teach something that's memoir writing, but it helps you write your story quickly and easily. It's not a memoir class in which you craft stories and write hundreds of pages. It's a class geared for non-writers or those beginning their autobiography or the memoir. For the sake of this class, we're just going to say autobiography and memoir are the same thing. Just you're going to tell your story. Some people tell a certain aspect of their story, where it's mainly their adult years. Some people focus in on just childhood. You could choose, but right now it's just going to be your life story, whatever aspects of your life or your full life. There's no pressure. What I want to just tell you, if you go to the university in your city and you take a memoir class, it's usually taught by a writer who's published a memoir. And they teach you, you read a few good books, good memoirs, which are fantastic. I encourage all of you to read memoirs. But let's just say, but what I find, and I've taken courses like this, is that it's focused by someone who's published a memoir and teaches you about writing, that you want to have a great narrator, great characters, great plot, great, the storyline matters, the arc matters, the beginning matters, the end matters. And it's really about the craft of writing. And what I found is a lot of people, professionals, especially between 50 and 70, 75 years old, want to leave their story to their kids, their grandkids, or they have no kids, they've retired. They want to figure out who they are, what they're all about. They want to write their story. They want to share their story. They want to know their own story. And so they want to look back and reflect. So what I found is that I want you to tell your story conversationally. We're not worried about the craft right now. One of my very good friends is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and he said, what you're doing is great. And I said, why? Because it's not really the actual writing of it. You know, you're a writer, you're a great writer. And he said, well, we have to write the story first. And some people can't even write it first because they're busy editing and worrying and they can't get it together, or they don't know what to leave in and what to leave out. So I want you to know that this is conversational. It's not craft. It's not grammar. It's just story. I help you with your story. So I prompt you with something called priming questions, and you're going to write about themes. And so the themes aren't rocket science. You could predict them: love, work, gender, there are all kinds of themes: childhood, this, that, whatever. There's all kinds of themes, but that's very helpful to organize it that way first. And if you take my classes, we'll get into more why that is. But it's also helpful because I give you very deep priming or provocative or relevant questions. And so you focus on only one thing at a time, and you focus really well, and that leads you to other things. Later you edit, you add more pages if you like, and then you could share the stories with a supportive group in a confidential, safe environment. I hope you'll take a class with me, that kind of thing. So what it's not exactly life review, reminiscing, genealogy, or therapy, but it's often therapeutic and healing and very rewarding and life-changing. And it's a gift you give to yourself and maybe others too. So my introductory classes, like today, you can write one paragraph in class. That could be 3 to 5 sentences. That could be 24 sentences. You could write 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs if you feel like it. But I'm only hoping that you write a paragraph and just start the process. For my one-day workshops, people usually write a little bit more than that. And those are 2-hour classes, and we go into more depth. My 4 to 8 week classes, you write 1 to 2 pages at home. We usually share it, usually with very small groups, 5 to 10 people. Sometimes I might open it up to bigger groups, and then you share it. And in the introductory classes and the workshops, usually I don't require people to share it as much. It's up to you. But the point is, by sharing it, you get a lot of other things out of it. I'll talk about in a minute. It doesn't matter, double space, single space. The point is to start writing and to start getting it on paper, not in your head. A lot of people tell me, no, I already have it in my head, and they don't. You have to get it on paper. So after a 4 to 8 week class, you usually have anywhere from 4 to 24 pages of your life story. Some people have much more. You could leave this as a legacy letter, create a small booklet, go on to write a book. This class reconnects generations usually. I do have students in their 20s often, and maybe immigrant families they come from, they want to talk about that. And this process and experience helps you review where you've been, where you are, and where you want to be, where you want to go. It's, I guess I'll stop here for one moment, and before I tell you the benefits, I'll tell you what happened to me very briefly. I had an incident, personal incident, and I was hospitalized. My appendix burst, but it wasn't appendicitis and where it's acute, and they took it out. So it ended up, it was very serious, and it got into a bunch of organs. So they had to operate on like 6 or 8 organs and things like that. And I was in Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City about 12 days. And I woke up one night after it took a while to recuperate, a month or 2. And I woke up and I had this epiphany that I wanted to tell people, help people and writing their stories. And that was it. It wasn't exactly the marketing end. I do marketing, and it wasn't exactly, ghostwriting or helping people in the writing. It was just get their stories down. And the next day, a day or 2 later in the New York Times, there was an article, and USC and UCLA had programs for about 30, 35 years. And it was in their gerontology department, interestingly enough, and they started this. And so I was trained by one of their people who's been with them, this group for 30, 35 years, and I got my little certificate or whatever. And then I added videos, I added writing, I added poetry, I added, just having taught before, I added things that I thought would help my students, my classes more, and I have a lot more to it. But one of the best things I love about this is, for me, it's super impactful. I'm helping somebody write their story. And second of all, there's a lot of benefits that are proven in medical journals, psychological journals, and they've been researched. There's evidence to show the benefits of you writing your life story. It's not just, whoa, it's a fun thing to do. Maybe it's COVID and you have extra time. No, here are some of the benefits. You leave a legacy for those you love. You gain the power of being heard and owning your story, owning your story. Think about this. You have siblings, and do you ever get together and they tell a story and you're like, no, that's not the way it happened. I was in the bedroom. I wasn't in the kitchen. Or, you start, they have a different version kind of the story. And they're all true, but you have your own version. And so you own your own story. It's your story and your life. And so why not tell it in your voice, in your way? So another benefit is you start to see patterns and make sense of this puzzle. Right now, maybe it's a little blurry what was in childhood. Maybe you remember, or maybe you remember it very well and you don't remember your 30s or your 40s, and by piecing together different aspects and important and significant events and moments in your life that are significant, you make more sense of it. I want to talk right now about the idea of significance. Sometimes if you take writing classes, I was a backup deputy manager or moderator at Yorkville Writing Circle in the Upper East Side in Manhattan. And I was also involved in San Diego. I was a partner with the Women's Museum. So what happens is sometimes when you take any kind of writing classes, which I do encourage you all to take, because writing is amazing and you want to, be a great writer. I encourage that. But sometimes you have these arbitrary prompts. Today you're going to write about a banana, what you remember about a banana. Tomorrow you're going to write about, a moment you were traveling and lost or something. I don't know, I'm making this up. But the point is that might not relate to your own story and the important things that you really do want to tell. You really have events and things that happen and you really do want to tell, and you might not get to that because you have all these creative prompts and it makes you write a creative story, and maybe it relates to your life, maybe it doesn't. So I really like the idea of it's your life, your story, you're telling it, and you start to make sense and see patterns that sometimes in my classes, I had a 22-year-old student who told an older person, all your stories that you're telling have to do with blah, blah. Did you ever realize that? And she was like, no, I never even thought of that. So there are patterns. Come to terms with your life as lived. Once again, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to psychoanalyze or whatever, but you do come to terms with, wow, I did this, that's kind of great. I didn't realize I got through all of this pandemonium and I ended up doing, wow, you make sense of it better and come to terms with it. Increases your self-confidence and resilience, proven by studies. By writing your story, it contributes to your hardiness, your well-being, your sense of getting through things, your hopefulness. Keep from feeling isolated or lonely, because usually when we do these in these classes, you hear other people's stories and you share them. Other thing is you connect and bond through sharing and disclosing, which is awesome and beautiful. You also develop sometimes increased empathy. When we share our stories with each other, maybe the other person says, oh my God, the same thing happened to me. I was laid off, or I had an abusive situation with that, or I had this problem dating, or my child also is special needs. And you by unraveling these deeper stories that we don't often have time to tell each other on holidays and with brief moments that we normally catch up on work, on home, on family, on this, on that, we don't go deeper into these deeper stories. So that's another really wonderful thing. We develop our muscle for empathy and compassionate listening. We don't interrupt each other to say what we want because we're really thinking deeply. You watch friendships blossom, renew optimism, activate the mind brain, use it or lose it. A lot of people know that, that's why they take languages or do puzzles or whatever. It's very good, especially for older people like us, some of us. Develop insights for self-understanding and maybe even self-acceptance. Self-esteem, self-worth, kindness to ourselves, realizing you're learning something new, which is awesome. Improve your writing skills just by the sheer virtue of writing, you are going to improve your skills. So obviously one time, not so much, but if you keep writing, yes. Okay. So that's enough background. That's enough information. I am now going to ask you to get ready. We're right on time. We're a little ahead of time, actually. I want you to get ready because I'm going to tell you what you're going to write about. And I am going to purposely tell it to you, so you have to listen or watch me. And I'm not going to give it to you on a slide, and I'm not going to give it to you in a handout right now. So I want you to write about, well, let me start. In many ways, childhood is often magical. It's the time before we face stress, worries, financial cares, or major responsibility, that season of innocence and grace. We didn't realize we were making memories, we were having fun. We didn't realize we were learning as we explored. We didn't realize we were happy because we just were. There is always one moment in childhood when the door opens and lets the future in, according to author Graham Greene. Today, you're going to write about a childhood memory that made you very happy, and then maybe just let the future in. But wait a minute, don't start. Yes, some of us did not have idyllic years growing up, but for now, you're going to think about those happy moments, and you're going to think about happy moments that connect then and now. Before I read you some examples, I was at a museum. I've given my workshops at various museums in different places as well. And someone came up to me and said, I didn't have a happy childhood. I don't have a good memory. And I said, there has to be one good memory in your childhood. One. Maybe it was eating your favorite food, or some nice person who sort of rescued you, or a friend that you had that always made you feel good about yourself in school. And so she said, oh yeah, there was something. And she was able to write. So I want you to think about a childhood memory that made you very happy, but it also, these happy moments connected then and now. It's not just a happy Christmas story. It connects to then and now. What do I mean by that? Please listen. When you were happy example one, when you were happy because you climbed trees and investigated the woods until mom called you for dinner, you were alone and you realize now you still work independently, let's just say, or are an entrepreneur, or you like to figure things out yourself, whether it's technology or whatever, okay? Connect then and now, who you are, what you do. Number two, maybe you were happy when you were with your family at the beach during the summers. Your happy moment, that one childhood memory made you very happy. You played Frisbee, built sandcastles. You loved those times because you were together, not arguing. And you still, now you're the go-to person. You organize the vacations. You organize the family get-togethers. Otherwise, they never happen without you. I'm going to give you one more example. Maybe, in talking about this childhood memory made you very happy, maybe one of your happiest memories was cooking in the kitchen of your grandmother's house, but it wasn't really about the cooking, or fishing with your grandfather somewhere in a very remote area, and it wasn't really about the fishing. It was because your grandma or grandpa told you stories about your past and your family, or his past. And maybe you've recently started scrapbooking or researching, DNA, your family tree or something. So if you can't think of happy moments that link to who you still are, in other words, you're that person climbing trees independent, or you're with the family, you organize vacations, or you were cooking and you're researching history and genealogy, whatever, you could tell me something, how the happy time led to something great. So either it connects to who you are now or led to something great. 3 examples for you. Number 1, you moved, and though you were sad at the time, you still have the same friends from that second neighborhood, and you meet them once a month for a barbecue. Or maybe you loved makeup when you were a child, and now you're a lawyer for a big makeup company. Or maybe one of your happiest memories from childhood was catching fireflies in the fields. And one day, that's how you met your husband. Okay, so I made this stuff up just to help you. And I'm going to give you limited time. You're not going to turn this off because I purposely only want you to write right now. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes. And so all I want you to do is write about the happy memory, how it connected to who you are now, happy memory, how it led you to something wonderful. Okay? Everybody, pick up your pen. I prefer you don't do it on computer. I'll tell you why after the break. Everyone, please start writing now. Start the happiest memory I have, the memory I remember. If you don't know how to start, just jump in and write as if you're talking to me. Go. And I'll give you prompts like as we go through how much time is left. Okay, sorry. Okay, you have about a little more than 5 minutes left, so keep writing. And if you want, you can add in a few descriptive words, you know, maybe your age, the date, the month, if you don't remember where you were, the city, just some descriptive words if you can.
This is your NPR station.
Sorry.
Vital coverage of the 2020 election.
Sorry. Okay, you guys only have about 3 minutes, so try to wrap it up and make sure you connect with who you are now or what it led to something great, that good, happy childhood memory. One more minute. So glad you guys are writing. There we go. Okay, everybody put their pens down right now. How was the experience for you? Was it a lot easier than you expected for those of you who haven't started writing? For some of you who just like writing, maybe it was easy. Think about it. I'm hoping, usually people say it was fun. In fact, some of the people are very nervous about writing and that come to the libraries that I meet people at sometimes say it was much easier than I thought, you know, and I hope so. I really hope it was easier for you. So I wanted to, before I go on, I want to tell you, I prefer people handwrite when I do exercises in class. There is a difference between handwriting and doing work on the computer. Stanford studies have shown that when students take notes comparing the computer or handwriting, they do about the same in regurgitating facts like a date or something like that. But they do better when they handwrite, and they remember better, and they encode differently, etc. And I think there is a heart-hand relationship. Your body is closer to it. But there are other studies I looked at, I just can't remember right now to tell you. So that's why I want you to handwrite it if you can, and I hope you did. And also you're not distracted and you're not trying to go back and edit it and crossing out words and things like that. I guess you could still do that with writing too, but I hope you didn't. And so I wish I could hear your stories now. And usually when we are in a live online class or a live class in person, we share our stories. And we have a very specific methodology in sharing our stories that if you take a class, once again at a university, people critique. And that can be very helpful. It could be very daunting and upsetting as well. Especially if you're a newbie writer and people are telling you to change things and it was your life and you don't understand it. So there's I use a different methodology, which is where we only support each other's writing. And you say, well, maybe that's too la-la. I really want to get good at it. I really want to write better. But now is not the time for that. Right now is the time to get the stories down. So some people might give you good hints like, you know, you wrote a lot about your father in this, and clearly he had an influence on you, but you didn't talk as much about you, and this is your story. Well, we might give comments like that in that we want to hear from you more. It was so great. But by and large, we give supportive. That was amazing. That reminds me of this. That was so great because of this. You know, it was amazing. You had a lemonade stand and you were selling at such a young age, and now you are an entrepreneur, or now you're an investment banker and you were handling money and everything then. That's so great because I never did that. And I love that, you know. So there's a lot to be said for going deeper in your memories, and also, you know, ultimately helping figure out what's worth putting in and what's not, and what you want to augment and what you don't. So anyway, that was today's class, and I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, my name is Barbara Field. My classes that I'm giving, I haven't set them up right now, but they will be on the website by the time you get this. Or you can find them at writinglifestories.com. If you have questions, please write me at barbara@writinglifestories.com. And I hope you got a lot out of this. And I hope it helps you. And thank you so much for taking it. If you want to find out about my future classes, please go there or contact me. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.